the part of this conversation has to include President Obama's 400K speech, right? Because that is indicative of the Democrats and the Democratic establishment and Democratic rank and file, who I'm going to also include the media we were talking about before, because in a lot of ways, the media is also as a very self-selecting industry by nature of the realities of how writing for exposure works, writing, unpaid work, all of those things kind of self-select for people out who actually basically need money. So in a lot of ways, it does tend to self-select for the richer of society, or rather the more well-to-do. But we have to talk about the fact that President Obama is actually, scheduled to give a $400,000 speech for 90 minutes. I want to say it's that, don't sigh, you know what's happening. Don't think you can't believe it.
The 90 minutes thing is good to me. Is like, I thought it was only going to be an hour, but go ahead.
But the thing is not only is he giving a speech, he's giving a speech to a company that has received lenient settlements from the Department of Justice.
That's problematic.
I mean, it's not only President Obama, right? So Eric Holder, they head of the DOJ under Obama for a while. After his tenure was up, he went right back to his law firm, which does lobbying work.
Again,
and you contrast that with, these are the same Democrats that said, I know we should probably raise the minimum wage a little bit, but $10, $15. I think $15 is just too much for that, working mom that's busting her ass. I probably deserve about $400,000 for about an hour and a half. That sounds
the minimum
about
wage. Right. The minimum wage is
let alone universal basic income
that it becomes politicized for some reason when if you really believe in economics, like not necessarily the specter of conservative economics, but like demand side economics, progressive economics that have been demonstrated to work. Like, you put more money into the people's hands who will spend it the most, money multiplier effect, a lot of stuff. Like, it just makes sense. The only time raising the minimum wage doesn't make sense, the only time single payer healthcare doesn't make sense is when you're a neoliberal ideologue. Yeah. That's when you have to balance that, when you have to balance the actual material benefits of doing that with the ideological cost of doing it. When you have to say, well, if I do this, if I raise the minimum wage, it's going to go against what I view to be moral about society and ethical about our world, and then so far that, hey, neoliberalism, capitalism demands that certain people be poor. Like it requires that certain people have less. But what I was going to say was that people have come out of the woodwork to either defend President Obama or act as though this is the last straw before they realize that he is he's never demonstrated himself to have any kind of lack of affinity for Wall Street. I don't understand how people can be surprised by this.
Well, for the first 6 months or so of his campaign, he campaigned very differently than how he ended up governing. But once he became president,
don't get me wrong. Like, when I say you shouldn't be surprised by this doesn't mean it's not problematic to me, right? Mm-hmm. So just because something is common amongst, politicians or just in society does not mean it should be normalized. Like, I don't care. I don't care how long we've been bombing Afghanistan. I will never normalize that.
Yeah, we also have to keep in mind it's like Trump is literally selling access to himself in Florida as president.
Don't you think selling access to himself? When you say selling access to himself, you should really clarify what that means.
You talk all the time, Brandon. Shut up. I want to touch on what Richard just said.
Selling access to himself
because what Donald Trump is doing is problematic and likely, and frankly, illegal. We cannot let that distract from what Obama doing is problematic. And again, I'm with Richard. I really don't know how in the hell you could not have seen this coming. I mean, realistically, but we can't conflate one illegal act with the neoliberal act and let the illegal act distract us from the neoliberal. Well, the fact of the matter is, what's going on is the revolving door of neoliberalism. And if you were surprised by this,
I just mean America voted for somebody that they knew was going to do this. Like, they knew that Donald Trump was going to sell the presidency for personal gain. And I'm not. It might be illegal, but I'm not sure America disagrees with it in concept as a country.
Here's what I would say, right? So, I agree with someone said before. I can't remember which one of you said this, but you were right, and I apologize for forgetting which of the three of you said this. But there is this tendency when you're dealing with lesser of two evils politics to, as a way to assuage your own guilt. It takes a strong person to actually internalize and not just wish it away that I am supporting evil. And so there actually becomes this tendency to say, okay, well, hey, I'm sorry, rather. What we have to dispute is the tendency in some people to make the less evil option the good option. That's not the same thing.
No,
but that's what we see. We see people waxing nostalgically for Trump, for Obama, for
and
Clinton, for George
even liberals
Bush,
pining for George Bush.
For Bill Clinton. Yeah, liberals pining for George Bush. Nancy Pelosi was pining for George Bush a few days ago. And again, spoiler alert, no matter what you believe, if you think that President Trump has been worse than George W. Bush, you're wrong. Like you're unequivocally wrong.
George W. Bush is a neoliberal racist. Trump is an out-and-out racist, and I think that bothers white people.
No, so here's what I'm going to say.
I think that's what it is white people are uncomfortable with out-and-out racist, but if you do it in a way that they don't have to see it, or they can find some way to rationalize it, like Katrina. Bush doesn't like black people, but if you're white America, you can conceptualize that and find a way to make it okay. Donald Trump saying they can't do that.
I'm going to dispute you this time because you know how much I love calling honkies out for being honkies. But with this, it's not even just being white. This is like a part of the liberal theology. They like politeness. And we've seen this a lot. Like they like politeness. Say what you want about, George W. Bush. He was goofy. He was a little weird, but like he was polite. And like what they don't like about Trump is not the fact that he's probably guilty of multiple sexual assaults. They don't like the fact that it's not the fact that he's probably racist. They don't like the fact that they don't care about the fact that he probably made a large amount of money doing shady business dealings. What they don't like is his rhetoric. They don't like how clumsy and misogynist and racist his rhetoric is. They don't care what the implications of his policies are so much. But that's a different story.
Trump's like a magician doing a magic trick. Like you teach him a magic trick and he does it poorly so everybody can figure out how it's done, so he ruins it for everybody. That's what Trump's doing. He's ruining the magic trick for everyone of profiting off of all of this by doing it so sloppily.
He's revealing. Yeah, that's the problem, right? Because instead, what Democrats should be doing right now is they should be pointing to Trump and saying, you know what, Republicans, you need to wear this. Yeah, Republicans, you have to wear Trump because Trump is what you've been working towards for the past 30 years, starting with Reagan. And
that requires coherent thought on their part.
And progressives should be saying, Democrats, you have to wear this. This is what you've been working for. This is what Bill Clinton triangulating and sanctifying selfishness in the markets and deregulating Wall Street. This is what you were working towards too.
Mm-hmm. Yes, but
I think that's what we do, though. I mean,
let John in there. Let John in there.
So that actually was something that the states were fighting against Hillary Clinton, and even the DNC was fighting against the Hillary Clinton campaign to do during the run-up to the election. They said, let's make the Republicans own this so that down ballot we win. So every Republican has to stand up on stage and say, I endorse everything that Trump says, or say and actually come out in opposition to the guy that they put at the head of their ticket, and then say it's problematic that we put this guy at the head of the ticket. But Clinton didn't want to do that. The neoliberals and the liberalism of the Clinton wing of the party said, no, what we're going to do is we're going to try and get those voters. And just like Adair said earlier, they ran to the right to try and get those voters in order to try and win. And it obviously was a losing battle. It was a losing strategy.
Yeah,
and that's what they do all the time. Like you were saying about the Clintons in general.
Like you can't frame yourself as the less Republicans because people always choose people with the more Republican option. Like they tried to win the center. What I was gonna say was this though. I forgot. Like talking about Obama's speeches and how they demonstrate the Democratic Party, at least in the media, and also the Democratic Party, the rank and file, the elite are out of touch. Because it seems like there's two groups of people who I noticed were coming out of the woodwork for this. There were that group of Vox writers who basically for lack of a better term, as a gaggle of people who were like, this is Obama, like this is for everything that we thought he was. Like, what are you talking about? This is all Obama has ever been about. Like this $400,000 speech, this shilling for Wall Street, this is all Obama's ever been about. Like that, like that's just it. Like he's always been this way, and if you haven't noticed it, you just weren't paying attention. I'm sorry.
I'm actually going to push back on that. I don't think people weren't paying attention to Obama. I think people didn't care. I made this comparison in the green room, and I'll make it on air even. We were talking about the difference between Donald Trump and President Obama, at least as it pertains to economic but foreign policy. I have Newports, Obama's Newport. That's what that is. Oh man, he's cool. He's this. He's great, and he's black. And that was the one great thing that he could do. So no matter what he did, people wouldn't pay attention to it because then they could point to that and say, "Well, guess what? I'm not a racist. I vote for black." Convenient scapegoats for everyday. I'm going to be honest. I think people were dumb. I think the media was stupid. If you sat up here and you're in the media, your job is, and you're going to sit up here and tell me you're surprised now, hang it up. You're not doing your job. You're dumb. Go back. Go home.
Well, we know.
I know part quickly for me. I know part of it was I wanted to be proud of the first black president. So like I tried to turn a blind eye to a lot of things. I wanted to be proud of the first black president. I wanted to be able to look with pride and do all those things. And it was hurtful and hard to get there to the point where it's like no, he is just as bad, if not worse, because of what he's hiding by nature of using race and what you pointed out to what the excuses he was giving America, the leeway he was giving them by being there. It was unfortunate overall, but that's where I was. Go ahead, Brandon.
Well, we know the media doesn't do their job because honestly, they're incapable of doing their job. And the reason they're incapable of doing their job is because they've been so corrupted by just the two subcategories, but because they've been so corrupted by private interest that it becomes impossible to critique power. B, the demographics of the media are so homogenous that they are incapable of criticizing neoliberal politics or liberalism, which enables neoliberal politics, because that's just who they are and that's their social circle, and they're just glad to be there, honestly. And so when it comes to the C of this, the problem with the media and the problem with, and it's also indicative of the critiques we've been seeing, is that out of the woodwork have come these people, both, I'd say the Negro liberals,